As a part of a studio, construction project formulation and appraisal, we had to study the feasibility of an ongoing highway project. We chose a brownfield project, that is, widening of existing 4-lane to 6-lane from Circuits to Gandhinagar NH147. We studied its feasibility through various analyses, among which the technical analysis, financial analysis, environmental impact assessment, and risk assessment are covered in this presentation, along with the project brief. The development of SG highway from existing 4-lane to 6-lane is done on EPC mode, that is engineering, procurement and construction mode. The project is a brownfield project which is divided into 4 packages, and there are scope of developments like flyovers, upgradation at various junctions, service roads, etc. along the stretch. The highway connects 2 main cities, that is Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar, and the details of the project is tabulated below. Technical analysis refers to studying various technical components of the project and identifying competent alternate methodologies. First comparison of formwork alternative used in bridge pie was done, considering 7 parameters. It can be observed that both formwork scores similar in terms of structural system and shape of the system. The initial cost of variogity is high, but the speed of construction and reusability makes it more economical than traditional formwork. Next is a comparison for construction for box culverts was done, considering cast in situ and precast box pushing technique. It is also analyzed based on 7 parameters. The box pushing technique has advantages such as low construction time, better material and utility planning, and higher quality of construction because of controlled environment. Also, higher traffic volume count along the alignment will lead to cost and time overrun in cast in situ method, which makes box pushing a better alternative. Next, the comparison for construction methodology is done, considering cast in situ rebar and PSC slabs, which is done based on 9 parameters. The PSC slabs has a high initial cost but low maintenance cost, has lighter and slender section, and savings in steel and concrete make it more economical option, and thus it has a higher weighted score. Next is a comparison of rigid versus flexible payment, which is done considering 14 parameters, out of which scoring model was done only for 7 parameters. It can be observed that rigid payment has higher design life, flexible rigidity, night visibility, and almost similar cost as that of flexible pavement. Yet flexible pavement is more scored due to the advantage that the existing pavement is 100% flexible and due to the lesser amount of carbon footprint that is generated. The cash outflows for the project are distributed as follows. 95% of the civil work cost is paid during the 2 years of construction, which is distributed into semi-annual payments of 10%, 20%, 40% and 30%. The remaining 5% of civil work cost is paid based on the completion of construction. The 5% of maintenance cost during the DLP period is distributed as 0.8% for the first year and 1.4% for the other 3 years. The operation and maintenance cost post DLP period is assumed to increase 5% compounded annually, and it is observed that in the second year of construction phase requires very high amount of cash outflows, which constitute almost 73% of the total cash outflows. Due to the absence of revenue generation, taking into consideration 7.5% PVF, the NPV for the project comes out to be negative, that is 625 crores, which makes the project financially infeasible. The environmental impact assessment, where the project is analyzed considering environmental parameters, which falls into 3 categories, that is the ecological, physico-chemical and human interest. And EIA helps analyze the feasibility of the project. Based on the impact and importance of these parameters, the EIA is calculated. It creates a negative impact on the environment, which is majorly due to the construction activities, and considering adequate measures would help reduce the impact at a considerable rate. Though the EIA is negative, it doesn't comply to a project as the land required for upgradation has been procured at an earlier stage. Risk management refers to handling of risk involved in the project by first identifying the risk throughout the project, assessing its impact, and figuring out strategies to reduce its impact. The project has been carried out under EPC. The client here, the MOT, bears the risk in financing the project and risk during the operation and maintenance of the project. And the EPC contractor is responsible for the risks that occur due to design, procurement, and construction. Some of the major risk categories identified in the project are tabulated. The risks were categorized based on the threat or opportunity they impose on the project, and based on the probability of its occurrence and impact it causes, a severity matrix was formed for both the cases. First, the severity matrix, probability versus impact for threats. It can be observed that majority of the risks fall under moderate severity and can be mitigated by ensuring adequate responsive strategies. Similarly, for probability versus impact for opportunity, There are comparatively very less risks that would impose an opportunity, and these risks can be enhanced or exploited based on its impact for the benefit of the project. First is the risk division based on risk category. Here it can be observed that the risks related to technical, environmental health and safety, financial and construction are the highest. The risks are in majority needs to be managed effectively to avoid cost and time overrun in executing the project. Next is the risk division based on phases of project. It is observed that most of the risks during implementation, which are majorly due to construction activities. The high value of risk are one of the reasons why various consultants are appointed in the implementation phase of the project to mitigate the risk. Next is the risk distribution based on risk severity. The highest number of risks are for the risk with 6 severities and can be managed effectively. And the risk with higher severity of 12 need to be prioritized and managed beforehand. Those risks are inefficient traffic demand forecasting, air quality risk, labor strike, community opposition to trees, etc. The risk involved with diversion of traffic has 20 severities and needs to be mitigated with highest priority. Next is the risk distribution based on risk owner. It can be observed that the most number of risks involved is with the EPC contractor, and the benefit of this modality is this that the client needn't bear the risk due to construction or design. Conclusions were drawn from the deliverables are summarized here. First is the technical analysis. Various alternatives were considered to assess the technical viability of the project, and accordingly conclusions were made based on the comparative studies done. It is understood that flexible pavement is more suitable due to lesser carbon emissions, whereas for formwork, GT24 is more preferred. The post-tension slabs are more preferred in construction of deck slab due to its increased speed of work, and precast box pushing technique is in construction of box culvert as it supports higher traffic movement, which is a major issue in the STIV. Next is the financial analysis. The project is set in an urban scenario and the end users were not willing to pay tolls for the same, because of which there were no financial returns generated from the project and it is financially not viable. The environmental impact assessment. This does not comply for the project as the land required for upgradation was procured at an early stage and it is done as a part of a studio work by considering few parameters under ecological, physico-chemical and human interest, and it can be analyzed that this project creates a negative impact and these can be mitigated by ensuring adequate measures. Risk management. 12 major risk categories were identified in this project and various risks fall under these categories. And these risks were analyzed based on the impact that would create on the project, that is a threat or an opportunity, and how they can be mitigated or enhanced were analyzed. It can be noted that most of the risks are caused during construction and the risk bearers are the contractors, which is a benefit to the client.